South Bank Show, in association with Anderson Consulting.
Hello, Blur are generally held to be the most original and successful British band of the 1990s. Formed in 1989 by Damon Albarn and Graham Coxon and Dave Rowntree, all from Colchester, and Alex James from Bournemouth, they had their first top 10 hit with There's No Other Way in 1991. But it was with the release of their third album, Parklife, that they achieved national fame. The album sold over 5 million copies worldwide, and Britpop was truly born. Despite an overhyped public rivalry with the band Oasis and constant rumours of breakup, they've successfully reinvented themselves throughout the decade and now celebrate their 10th anniversary as Britain's foremost indie band. Jerry Fox's film follows them from recording studios to a one-off gig at Goldsmiths College to mark this occasion.
I remember watching the South Bank show on the Smiths round at Graham's house, and then Morrissey said something at the end. He said that the Smiths were the last important band, and I just got so pissed off with that, and I walked all the way home just sort of determined to prove him wrong. It's just really pathetic, isn't it? I also had a little fantasy that if I ever got on the South Bank show, I'd say the same thing as him. Now the moment has arisen, I just can't bring myself to be that sort of, I don't know, petty, really.
Of course we survive. We're very resilient like anybody else. We're not daft enough to self-destruct. I think we know that music isn't everything, and it's not worth dying for. There's other shit going on. There's a lot more worthy of attention.
We're all much too proud to admit that we rely on each other, but we do. It's got more to do with working hard than being a genius. It's the thing that gets me. I thought you just had to be a genius.
We can all do good stuff on our own. It takes the four of us together to be this good. You know, we all need each other. Which is probably why we all hate each other as well, you know.
Everything about Britain in the mid-90s, from Cool Britannia to the Spice Girls, the Oasis Blur feud, if not caused by Parklife, certainly Parklife is absolutely integral, and Blur were absolutely integral in that process. Also, they've just made, pound for pound, the best British pop records of the 90s.
I've just realised, even though I haven't been on this train for maybe 2 years or something, that I know every single detail of this track. Could almost kind of give you a commentary of it with my eyes closed all the way up to Colchester. I spent a lot of time on this train.
Thank you.
And saw how it wore people down, made people very tense, and how miserable it seemed to make people. You know, there is something sad about leaving your family and getting on a train and travelling 100 miles every day. Just for what? Just to sort of put bread on the table. And the way that everyone's sort of forced to wear suits, forced to conform.
An old same train, same station, sat in the same seat, with the same nasty stain, next to same old what's his name, on his way to the same place, with the same name.
It breaks the human spirit. And I think that's probably why it's quite an attractive subject for songwriters, because you know, it's quite emotional. I find it emotional. Well, we're at Stanway School. This is where Graham and I went to school. We did our first ever performance, if you could call it that, at 8:30 in the morning for an assembly for the 4th and 5th years. I think I was playing the piano, and I think we did a Jimi Hendrix song.
Oh, you are so very strange. Sometimes I think you've gone insane. Too into myself into the better kind. And I'd like to see just how it's taken to teach you. And it's evocated to your pretty hair, pretty hair.
I failed A-level music in this room. I remember the moment when I realised I just didn't know what I was talking about. This is the place I feel most comfortable. I don't really relate to any of the rest of the school. That's why more money should be put into schools like this, because they haven't got any money. You can see they've got no money. They didn't have any money when I was there. You know, that's why I always found it a bit difficult to stomach being accused of going to public school. Because I didn't. I've got to introduce this because this is like an old friend. I spent more time in this porter cabin than anywhere else in this school. This is where we used to rehearse, spend all my time in here, really. I want to go now, I don't really want to stay anymore. I've had enough of it. It's all right for half an hour, no?
We used to just sit in the porter cabins and tinkle about. He used to write stuff that I'd play to on sax, and we listened to whatever the music rooms had records. We listened to Threepenny Opera and Tommy, I think. This piece was written as part of a competition at school. I think I was about 15. And it was meant to be a sort of exercise of our knowledge of sort of more of that theoretical side of music. It was called something like sonata. I'm a little bit loath to call it anything now because now when you're young you don't mind being really pretentious. But it gets a little bit embarrassing as you get older. So I think I'll call it something else.
Again and again and again.
came across Graham in the pubs in Colchester. He was a committed drinker, and I was too. The Colchester music scene, such as it was very incestuous anyway. And pretty much everybody had played in bands with pretty much everyone else, so it was only really a matter of time, I think, before we all came across each other anyway. And Alex was the odd man out, really, because he was in Bournemouth. Nobody really came across him until Graham went to college.
I repeat this again and again and again. Hey, hey, come out tonight. Hey, hey, come out
Well, this is Goldsmiths College, alma mater, the hallowed seat of learning. Graham was doing a fine art course here. I was doing French, and Damon used to come, and I think he was doing a musical composition course here, but really just to hang out. But it was quite an exciting place to be at the time. There was a group of artists, probably led by Damien Hirst, who were starting to grab headlines.
Most of my time at Goldsmiths was spent discussing silk cut adverts and how outrageous they were, which got to be a little bit tiresome. But there were some good people there.
They've always been an art school band. This is, in a way, like all kinds of people from Pink Floyd to punk rock, Malcolm McLaren. This is the great English art school kind of pop tradition. And I think it was just somewhere where they could hang out, get drunk, and, again, talk this good intellectual fight. And it was kind of giving them a certain confidence and a certain swagger, and with a certain theoretical underpinning for what they were going to do.
Well, here we are in the Camden Falcon. It's one of any number of venues in London of about this size, which, when you start getting a little bit of attention as a band, you arrive at. Moving to London, there's this whole scene of people who are just obsessed with music and people willing to put gigs on, and people who, you know, want to talk about bands and stay up all night. And, you know, this is the smoky, smelly introduction to chaos.
Waiting on an empty day, just the same as every day. Though I got nothing to say, I'm just gonna say anyway.
I think the emphasis for us then was just on energy, really. I mean, we rarely actually finished a gig completely. You know, there was always a point where everything either got trashed, or I'd be sick, or someone would get hit over the head, or the electricity would go. It was almost a sort of failure if we got to the end of the gig, really.
I saw these four lunatics jumping all over the place, falling over, and thought, don't know why, but this is good. And after that, I got my partner Dave Balfe along to see them, and we pursued them, and we got them signed quite cheaply, it has to be said, but it worked out all right in the end, and the rest is history.
Out of everything, making me wrong. When I don't want to think, taking the fun. Out of everything, I don't want to think at all. There's no other way, there's no other way. All that you can do is watch them play. There's no other way, there's no.
Like most bands, we've probably got a record deal because we look quite good. You know, I think all music is good, really, even the loads of stuff that doesn't get heard. It's just that how you can make people notice it, you know, and the easiest way to do that is if a band looks good.
Taking a fun out of everything, making it clear when I don't want to think. It's taking me up when I don't want to go up anymore. Just watching it all. There's no other way, there's no other way. All that you can do is watch them play. There's no other way, there's no other way.
I remember the second single, There's No Other Way, which was a top 10 hit.
coming down to the studio, hearing it halfway through the recording and going, that sounds like a top 10 hit, which I think is the only time I've ever done that in the studio ever. And it was, and it did.
It was very different times because the concept of a band like Blur selling 1 million albums would just seem ludicrous at that time. It just didn't exist. You know, getting a gold record of 100,000 albums was, you got the champagne out. Ultimately, this changed with the release of Parklife in 1994.
Watch you play, watch you play.
On the first album, a lot of the songs, as you can imagine, for a lot of bands, are played live before they're actually recorded. So in those instances, they will often be bringing in a song that they have played in some form or other for a few months. Pretty much the putting together of the song would be complete to a certain degree by that point. But later on, obviously there will be songs that Damon might have written the night before, and then have to be a period of putting together in the studio the construction of the song.
So, minor.
Yeah. A minor, G, C, D, but it doesn't have to come. It's a sort of. It could be something that's just.
No, the C sharp.
Yeah. So it goes through the C as well. So it goes. Yeah. Yeah, it's really nice the way it does that.
I think the process of music making is awfully kind of over-mystified. It's very straightforward, really, but it is mainly one or two good tricks and lots of craft. The only way to really become good at music is to just keep doing it.
You play that and I'll do my bit. But it's an unlit Baby, send my dear head up. Open up my go. I got my mind. There not down to down there. Lord and man. Giving us some let go. You were going the other way to me and I was going back. You were going. This would be a lovely groove.
Certainly the way we've worked in the past, sometimes where Damon's come in with a demo and said, I want it to be exactly like this. And sometimes where we've all gone in and everyone's looked at each other and said, got any ideas? No? All right, let's go then. So, a huge spectrum of working styles in there.
They syncopate really nicely, my rhythm and your rhythm.
I kind of like the idea of something coming out of chaos a lot more than thinking very hard. If you think very hard to achieve something, you're going to be pretty disappointed, and you're never disappointed with accidents or mistakes if they're positive and come out of almost nothing.
Give yourself my love, yeah.
I can't sing it and play it. As usual.
Do it without that then.
Okay.
Keep it going really solidly. Okay. And we'll turn you up in here. Can you turn Dave up in here?
Yeah, really loud.
Beside my head, I was seen to red cold, running myself up to let me down, getting in the time mood. Getting in the right frame of mind. Always saw my left jaw, waiting for it to let me remind you of. Getting out my get.
Once it's got the groove going nicely, it sounds quite. So you look forward to it coming back into the back on itself, don't you?
Confidence is a preference for the habitual boy out of what is known as. And morning soup about boy who can take a route straight through what is known as. Chance got brewer's troop, he gets intimidated by the bloody pigeons, eh? Love a bit of it. Who's that guy, Lord Marshall? You should cut down on your poor life, mate. Get some exercise. All the people, so many people. They all go hand in hand through their life.
I think Park Life was London Fields. I'd moved to West London and I read that book, and I think from an outsider's view that was kind of a very spiritual book. It was full of references to particular places, particular pubs. It was my Bible for like 12 months, and I wrote an album about it, really.
You should cut down on your pork life, mate. Get some exercise. All the people, so many people, they all go hand in hand through their life.
Park Life, I suppose, had such an effect on people because it was a snapshot of a country. It captured, in some way, everything that was going on.
It's got nothing to do with the lost birch technique, you know. Anyway, you joggers who go round, all the people, so many people, and they all go hand in hand.
It's perhaps difficult now at the fag end of Britpop, how significant it was for a group to come forward saying we want to celebrate traditional English kind of subcultural values of being a bit sarky, a bit lively, a bit smart. Park Life was the quintessential pop artifact of that time.
Park Life has a lot of people sort of running into the sea, you know, just going, help! A lot of that. Escaping. It's all about, I suppose, the way I always see seaside towns is they're on the edge of nowhere, aren't they?
And into the sea goes pretty England to me, round the Bay of Biscay, a bag for tea. Air traffic on the Dogger Bank, then up the Thames to find a taxi rank, sail on by with the tide, go to sleep, and the radio says, this is alive, but it won't hurt you when you're alive. There will be round with you, finding ways to stay so low.
This Is a Low is basically a kind of psychedelic Edward Lear, John Lennon trip around the English or the British coast using BBC Radio 4's shipping forecast, which I'm sure many people will be familiar with, Dogger, Viking, all those places, using that as a kind of as a template or a narrative structure.
I suppose, it's just the way when I was growing up, I saw the coast really like this, grey and not unfriendly, but just melancholy really. So, good place to start that song here. I suppose everything did change after that record. I mean, we didn't make the record thinking that we'd hit on a magic formula. So it was a surprise, and I think everyone in the band reacted to it differently. That sense of being in a very exclusive little gang changed somewhat.
That much attention doesn't, it means you can become a monster and get away with it. You can just afford to become a very selfish person, when you're in the coolest band in the world.
It didn't ultimately change the reason why we were in a band together, because we like playing together and we like experimenting. That's what it's always been about. It's always been about Graham and me listening to lots of different kind of music and then trying to make some sort of a coalition party in the studio,
Getting out the side door couldn't ask for much more. Shooting out my white side.
Okay, it's done.